I'd like to welcome you to the City of Deer Park City Council meeting September 15th, 2021.
In the last couple of weeks, probably since the canopy.
Roll call. To my left, Pete Cragen. Mary Bass. To my right, Richie Scott. John Schultz. Community Service Director Roger Krieger. City Clerk Treasurer Debbie Craig. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks so much for giving me tribute. I left my wallet at home.
Do you want some paper?
Nah, I got it. I got a notebook.
We have a motion on the floor to excuse Caleb. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion approved. Item 4 is approval of agenda. Okay, we have a motion. Got a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Item 5 is approval of September 1st, 2021 council meeting minutes. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, motion approved. Item 6, under new business. Item A is EDA award number 07-01-07525, Cedar Road Industrial Park Infrastructure Amendment number 2, Special Award Condition number 21, Property Management Standards for Privately Owned Property. Roger, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, so just a quick explanation on what this is.
Okay, thank you.
What this is,
I was supposed to get it.
Thank you, Kim.
I'm not sure that we're actually, I don't know that anybody from the actual city council meeting that is there present has got this person. Do we know that? No, we don't know that. Sure, this is good part of it. Okay. I'm councilman staff, so, but I'm straight from home. But I'm guessing that somehow this technology is not work for them, turn on the microphone.
Caleb, can you hear? Caleb?
Next to a couple people that are there, they're probably not going to be looking at their phones, so I'm not sure how myself will have to be, but they're the shop. All right, I will do.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, is that you, Debbie?
Yes, it is. Okay.
All right, yep, I'm going to go.
Okay, we're live.
Good morning.
Okay. For those on the phone, we're on item 6 under new business, and Roger is about to explain it.
so what this is the special award condition number 21. When we received the EDA funding for this project, there was 30-some special conditions we had to achieve. And one of them was this item number 21. And originally, about the only thing that's really added to this whole paragraph, if you go down to the third line, it says that the useful life of the project ensures consistency of the project purpose of supporting, right now it says industrial and commercial development. It used to only say industrial development. And because the way our zoning code was worded, and that's by industrial zone, there are some commercial type things that are allowed to go there. But since our code didn't read that way, we were going to have to go back to each of the owners and get special documents recorded against their property for the allowance of the, so they would follow the zoning basically of the parcels. And so we've been working on this condition for about a year, and our attorney was able to work with the EDA attorney on this. And the intent was obviously to always follow the light industrial zone classification. That's what the property zone is. But the application when it went in was really talking mostly about industrial park, industrial use, things like that. So they locked onto that industrial description in that paragraph. And it was going to be a real hard bridge to get over for us to try and get all those owners to go out there and actually file papers against their property as far as what they could do and not do. And so we worked with them, and they were agreement to allow us to word it similar to what our code says that allows them commercial use in there. So for all this paperwork, because there's no dollar amounts changed to the grant agreement or anything else, it's just a special condition which now will allow commercial stuff out there as well. And so for all this, we need your approval to send in to get our contract in.
You make a motion to approve.
Well, the motion is second. Any comments by the council? All in favor? Motion passes. Next item B is conduit use agreement between the City of Deer Park and NICOM. Doctor, would you like to speak on that?
So this is an agreement out there. This agreement, use agreement of the conduits that the city plays in this industrial infrastructure area. So when we did the first phase, after it was out of bid and all that kind of stuff, we were approached about the need for high-speed fiber optic cables and things like that, or at least the conduits in the ground that allow for cables to go in. So we went by change order and added conduits in that first phase, which was all airport road was 6th Street. And then the second phase, we went through that process again by adding a change order to add the basically 2 4-inch conduits from 6th Street all the way out to Enoch Road. So the whole length of it has these conduits in there that a fiber optic person, a phone company, somebody could use. Well, lo and behold, the utility providers that are out there, CenturyLink, Comcast, Vista, if they want to, any of them won't place their cables within another conduit that somebody else has a conduit in. In other words, CenturyLink won't put theirs in where Comcast is, or Comcast won't put it in where Vista is, for whatever reason they have within their company setups. And so, but these conduits are 4-inch size, the fiber lanes are maybe 3/8 or 1/2-inch size, so there's plenty of room in there. So anyway, NICOM is a company now that wants to put fiber out there. And so they asked for a approval to use some of the conduits, and that's what this agreement covers. Now, this agreement's designed so it'll handle 3 other uses besides those in the conduits if they so choose. There's a cost part in here because obviously EDA won't, and the auditor won't let us put something in that's necessarily a benefit to a customer or a private entity or something like that just for free. And so we had to come up with what we thought might be a reasonable cost in order to share these conduits. And so the cost for the conduit installation throughout the entire project is $310,000. That's all the phases, 6th Street, all Cedar Road, all that kind of stuff. And so what we tried to do is figure out what a logical number was. Well, approximately, 80% of phase 2 is a grant. 20% is coming from the owners. It wasn't quite as good as percentage on phase 1. The owners had to pay a little bit more. But we thought, well, let's use the 80%. That's the driving factor here. So we calculated that $310,000 to the city share, we'll call it that, of 20%, which is $62,000. Rounded it to 60, divided that by 4 as 2 conduit users in each conduit. So it gave them a cost, if they so choose to enter the conduits for this period of time, of $15,000 each. That's where the dollar amount came here. So this agreement is basically saying NICOM or somebody else call them, whoever, for this $15,000, you're able to use the conduits as they are in the ground from Crawford all the way to Enoch, and then all the way to the golf course, basically on 6th, for your fiber conduit technology, whatever that's going to be inside these conduits. So this agreement's the first one that's going to go in. They're connected to the NOAA system that is connected on Crawford Avenue all the way to Highway 2 and disperses from there, and so they're the first entity that wants to put it in and use the conduits.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments by the council? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Caleb? Motion approved.
No, thank you.
Okay. Item C is utility connection request, Jordan LeMay. Roger?
So you have a memo in your packet on this one as well. This gentleman, it's probably easiest to look at the map, owns a piece of property on it's on Belt Road, which is north of the city limits. And he's asking if he could connect to our water system. And so our code has a provision in there where if we have a water main fronts on your property that is within urban growth area boundary, in our water service area boundary, or retail service area, all those factors, then our code says the council can choose to authorize that future connection or not. It's really it. And at this stage of the game, there's a suggested motion there because there's still the water agreement we have to put in place, get the cost estimates to put in the infrastructure. He has to pay for that up front before the agreement comes back to you. But this is a way for a gentleman to basically build on that parcel in the county with water service supplied by us. So lots of words, but that's kind of what this is all set up to do. So if there's any questions,
Motion to approve.
The motion and a second. Questions by the council?
and again, you will have an agreement back to you, the actual final agreement with all the conditions and all that kind of stuff, and they pay those funds first. So this is the approval to go forward so that he has a chance to do that. So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item D is interlocal cooperation agreement between the city of Deer Park and Spokane Regional Clear Agency for a Purple Air Center partnership project. Roger.
So this last one's me. We were contacted by Spokane Regional Clean Air. They used to have an air monitor in Deer Park area. It was at the Avista Utilities building down there at the post office for years and years and years. And it's a remote sensor that they track and monitor and report air quality. The current one they have is up by the library, county facility for county use. But they don't think from a true information standpoint it's the best spot relative to up there by the trees and not as much wind movement, all those kind of things. I guess I don't know how to function exactly, but they're up there monitoring. So they came to us and asked if they knew a spot that we could put it. They were a little bit leery around the fire station because of the trucks and diesel fumes and some of those kinds of things. And so they focused on City Hall and asked if that would work. We had internet over there, that our Wi-Fi connectivity, we have power up on the roof. This device is about the size of a coffee cup that we will install with an antenna off the fascia of the building. And so this agreement was drafted by them, and Chuck was involved and got it worded back and forth to make both sides happy. And so basically it's an agreement that says, yep, you can put that up and you can have Wi-Fi access or access it remotely to monitor the air around us, and it reports back to their system. And so that's what this agreement entails.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments by the council? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 7, resolutions, we don't have any. Number 8, ordinances, we don't have any. Moving on to number 9, consent agenda. Item A is approval of voucher claim check numbers 39668 through 39709 in the amount of $1,283,658.35 for the first half of September 21st. Deer Park Airport lease agreement, Thomas Webster.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion second. Comments by the council? Any comments by the audience? Any comments by the phone call-ins? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Report of departments. We will start out with Joe.
Try and speak up so that you can hear me also. I'm Joe Tortorelli. I'm the Economic Development Consultant for the City of Deer Park. I've been working on economic development issues for the last, I believe, 12 or more years. In 2010, we initiated a possible development project out by the airport, which to try and bring utility services to all the parcels out there in order to develop it for industrial use. We are awarded a $1,468,932 grant by the Economic Development Administration. It's a federal agency, and it was matched by funding from the city for the other half of that. It's a 50-50 grant. We tried to go after a grant that would do all of Cedar and 6, which at that time was about a $6 million project. They said it was too large, so we scaled it back to make it to be lower Cedar and 6th Avenue, which 6th Avenue was not even paved way back then. And also we determined that it would be better to have Cedar Road go straight from Crawford rather than doing the job around the end of the airport. So the grant was awarded, and construction started in 2015 and was completed in May of 2016. And we were notified about a month ago that we had to do a final report after a 9-year period as to the number of jobs and capital investment. And that's what I'm here today to report to you on the phase 1 of the industrial project out around the airport. Now, phase 2 was applied for last year. We were awarded a grant on that too, and I'll go into that. This was a 50-50 grant. The other half was paid for by the 14 property owners that had frontage on the new Cedar and 6th Avenue. The report from, actually, we had 3 buildings built. Vista built a new service center, and Knight Construction and their 3 companies built 2 other buildings, which you're very aware of. The total investment between the 3 buildings, 4 companies, is about $17 million. They created 15 new jobs, and they retained 53 jobs, which EDA, when we reported that to EDA, is very happy with that. And they were actually, they were going to come out this last month and take a look at the project, but they had a conflict. So hopefully we can maybe do an event next month on dedication of the phase 2 project, which is on Cedar Road. You're very aware. That project is with 11 parcels and participating by those property owners through an LID to pay that off over, is that a 20-year LID? We got a loan from the state's Community Economic Revitalization Board for that total amount, which is about $1.2 million, and it's backed by the LID payment by the property owners. from that, they were very happy about that. As a matter of fact, they encouraged us, I talked to her just the other day, and they encouraged us that if we had some other projects that we could submit for consideration. As you're probably well aware, federal government is come up with a whole bunch of grant programs for infrastructure. So I think Daryl is looking at a project for the airport on connecting the sewer to the hangars out there. So with that, I want to congratulate the airport. There's a lot of foresight went into develop that 240 acres. Now, at the completion of this phase 2, we'll have complete infrastructure servicing all 15 lots or parcels. They average about 10 acres apiece. So, question?
Fantastic.
Well, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up is Roger.
Just a quick report on projects wise. If you've been around Colorado, you can see that the paving was done, completed last week, and lo and behold, we have about a 140-foot stretch that has to be retaken back out and worked on again. They are shooting to try and get to a completion date rather soon. We're way past the contract date. It'll be interesting where it goes relative to liquid dams and all those kinds of things that the Department of Transportation may want to hold over them, but we'll see how fast they think they can put the two contractors together to do the work that they have to make the pavement right. It's something we found, we're highly suspect during the compaction phase, various lists of asphalt, and did some corings out there, and there's just some shorted asphalt there. So we caught that. Hopefully that'll get fixed and definitely give us a longer pavement life for those sections, because they are designed as an all-weather driving surface, and there was 4 inches of asphalt due. We had about 2.5. So there are some areas that they had an issue on. So we found them, and we'll see where it goes to get that all fixed. Cedar Road that Joe was just talking about, phase 2. The anticipated paving date is October 1st and October 5th, over 2 days, with a full completion by the end of October, well within their contract, well within the EDA's contract timeframe when we have to be done. But that should be, well, there may be some sidewalk work still to do and things like that. Paving is a big driving factor right now to make sure we get that in so the storm system works and all that kind of stuff. It could be one of those where it doesn't get finished until next year, but their goal, if the weather holds for them, is to get their sidewalks in, get all the stormwater work done, and so forth, and have that by the end of October. So we're hoping. On the water tank project, doesn't look like much is happening, but they're finishing up the top elevation steel. That phase of the work should be done by the 23rd, I think they said, of this month, and then it probably will go through a shutdown. They can't coat the outside or inside or anything like that until springtime when they have the weather, but it'll sit there. They may do some more site or concrete work and some doors and some interior on the ground level stuff, but basically the project's going good. It's just weather around here doesn't lend itself very well to the coating, which is really the next phase. So, any questions? That's all I have.
Thank you. Next up, Street Supervisor Brad Wainwright.
We are in the middle of our pavement preservation for the year. Shamrock Paving is the contractor that got the job this year. They have it all round and reshaped and rolled, and we are looking for pavement to be done tomorrow and Friday. And they hope to have all the paving down, and then they'll have to come back and make some valve box adjustments and some graveling along the shoulders and that, but hopefully all the pavement will be done by the weekend. My guys we put the pool to bed for the year, got it drained and pretty well winterized. There's going to be some real maintenance that's going to need to be done there for next year. And we got a few small water leaks that we repaired, but we're just gearing up for fall now. Get the parks put away and stuff, so.
Thank you. Daryl?
Seems like fire season has wound down very quickly. We had at one point 12 aircraft on contract at the airport. We are right now down to 4, and possibly by the end of the week down to 3 aircraft. They did go out on a fire yesterday out by Valley. Worked it for a couple hours, got it put out fairly quickly. We're at record numbers for fuel sales this year. We could have sold a lot more. We had to ration it because of fuel shortages. We're looking at possible options to help with more storage capacity for the fuel. I also am looking at a possible EDA grant to put in some of the sewer mains connecting to the sewer on Cedar Road. And we've got a couple of hangars that are, the leaseholders are thinking they're going to get done by winter. We'll see.
Thank you. Next up, item 11, council questions, comments, or reports. And we'll start with Councilman Scott since I cut you off last time. My apologies.
Well, actually, I didn't really have anything to report, but I did want to ask Brad, you mentioned that there's pool repairs that are going to be needed to be done next year. What sort of repairs are we looking at, and how can we prepare for those so that we can have a full season next year?
We're going to have to caulk and paint the pool. There needs to be some cement repair to the sides of it. 70-plus-year-old pool. It's going to need some professional cement repair by some kind of a mason that I'm trying to track down right now. We had a heater that went completely, the burn chamber completely burned out of it this year. The other one doesn't look much better, so we'll probably be looking at heaters. And what else did we have? Paint, caulk, heaters, and the cement repair. And I have tried to get the ball rolling maybe this year, but there is nobody available to do basically any of that work. Yeah. It's a real limited, it's a real special field. There's one painter in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Moses Lake. Basically, there's one person that paints pools. And there's a caulking that we have found that looks like it's going to be a way better product than we've ever used in the past. So, but none of them, of course, are available this fall to do any work. So I was hoping to get kind of ahead of the game, but it looks like we're not going to be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Caleb, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any comments or reports you have?
I'll save most of my reports for hopefully the next meeting when I'm feeling better. I will say I have not been able to hear everything from everyone. I appreciate the option to hear most of it, but I think that I would really encourage us to move to something more appropriate for these meetings. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm glad you guys are there to do business. Sorry I couldn't make it.
Okay, thank you. Get better. Okay, next up, Councilman Schultz.
Well, I'd just like to thank Mayor Verzel and the fire district for working together so to obtain this conference room that we could have our city council meetings in person and while being safe. So thank you.
Okay. Councilman Craig. Yes, ma'am. Next up is item 12, interested citizens oral communications. Requests and comments from the audience on unrelated agenda items. Do we have any questions? Time.
On this clean air sensor project here, on number 4, it talks about necessary staff training. What's that involve?
Well, nothing for us at this stage of the game. I suppose if we wanted to get something out of it, more details from it, they
It
would
says
do
city
that.
staff.
Yeah, but it's not, at this point, all we have to do is install it up on the roof.
Turn it on.
turn on and plug it in, and he can program it from wherever they remote into. So.
Anybody else? Jim?
I'd like to request that you bring in other pastors to do the invocation, such as the Calvary Chapel pastor, Church of the Nazarene, the priest at the Catholic Church, maybe the Lutheran pastors. It seems like some of the pastors we've had have a political agenda, and that's no place for it. There's got to be a separation of church and state.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Next up is mayor's report. I do have a couple things to attend to the council, and that is budget time is coming up. You need to make a decision on what wages you're going to pay the lifeguards. Okay? Between now and October, Deborah?
Before the end, before the final budget is approved. Yes. So it's October.
Okay. I have nothing else, so we go to adjournment. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all, and stay safe.